The cosmic energies that support you on your journey of spiritual ascension are now intensifying more and more and truly act like a catalyst for your very own spiritual realization. Perhaps you already feel that your access to higher levels of consciousness, to higher perceptions, is now expanding more and more. So this expansion of consciousness, which is so strongly noticeable, and maybe you are already feeling it too, and depending on what you align yourself with, you can already gently recognize the magic that is becoming perceptible to us like a delicate little plant. And this magic, which brings miracles, abundance, and peace. So those who are very perceptive and those who generally align themselves with the higher values for the human community can feel that these energies, which bring miracles, peace, and abundance, are already noticeable. And that is absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Yes, that's what we want to talk about in today's podcast episode. Your inner alignment is very crucial because we have reached a time where your reality is changing at an unprecedented pace, and in the direction with which you resonate, in that direction your life changes. Yes, exactly. So my name is Linda Giesel, and I have been a spiritual mentor for over 20 years. I am the author of the book, Consciousness Next Level, and the founder of the science, Potential Method. Being potentials are, by the way, your strengths, allowing you to lead a fulfilled, happy life. Being potentials support you in your spiritual ascension. And if you want to know more about it, I invite you to our next free live show. Just bring your biggest problem, and with a bit of luck, we can work on it that evening. You can find the registration link in the text for this podcast episode. Your awakening, or the awakening of your higher consciousness, connects you more and more with the wisdom of your higher self. This is not always so easy, as it also challenges you to open your perceptions to new, expanded, and unfamiliar realities. And sometimes this can make us quite dizzy. And for example, it happened to me the other day. During training, I felt how my consciousness extended far beyond my body. And I had to collect myself first to be able to endure it. At first, I thought I had stepped out of my body, and it just felt so unfamiliar. And then I realized, well, I hadn't actually left my body. My consciousness has simply expanded far beyond my body, or vice versa. I was able to perceive or explore areas of my consciousness, occupy them in ways I am not usually accustomed to. It is simply a very unusual perception. This unfamiliarity, along with the changes happening in your life now, so unexpectedly, suddenly, and quickly all at once, can really overwhelm us. And when you suddenly come into contact with different levels of consciousness, it can really, really drive you crazy. And that is why a very important area of learning in this spiritual ascension is now, and what I am about to say is very important, it is the identification with our thoughts. I will explain to you right away why. Because our mind constantly tries to control life. And of course, it tries to do so in such spooky moments as well. However, this is a task that our mind cannot accomplish at all. Our mind is not at all equipped to handle this task. Even without spiritual ascension, it is an imposition for our mind to control the external, yes. But especially in moments when we are dealing with unfamiliar perceptions, it is an impossible task. And this can, if the mind tries to do so and we are identified with our mind and our thinking, quickly lead to fears or even panic attacks for some people, simply because we are not used to it. The more we open ourselves to subtle perceptions now, the more important it is to reduce analytical and rational thinking in favor of surrender, intuition, and heart-centered thinking. This is very important. Otherwise, one might feel like they are going crazy. It is simply the case that with the constant shifting between dimensions, our consciousness and our body are doing heavy work. The challenge of your spiritual ascension can thus also be accompanied by a variety of physical or emotional symptoms. This can be exhaustion, fatigue, trance-like states, or simply sadness and anger. Yes, and of course, really quite classic physical symptoms. I won't list them here because they can be so varied. What I find very pleasant is that at the same time we can feel thousands of feelings of joy, love, the feeling of being supported, trust, and yes, also the fullness of peace. Yes, we can perceive that simultaneously. It is very important that you open yourself to your inner expanded perception, because you will not only feel the challenges, but also the pleasant aspects. Your entire nervous system, yes, your beliefs, your life habits, your behavior patterns, are now all undergoing a very profound examination and also cleansing. Simply because you no longer need many things in the higher vibration of the fifth dimension, and during the transition, you will simply have to learn to let go of some things. And that is often more difficult than it sounds. We are just so interconnected, yes, our sense of security, it is so deeply rooted, linked with all our behavior patterns, beliefs, and so on. And this letting go, leaving things behind, is now a very big task. In this process, you will realign your values, question your life concept, and your longing for fulfillment, peace, joy, and authenticity. This will grow stronger, and you will become increasingly courageous at this point. So don't be surprised if you turn your life upside down overnight, or if you are turned upside down overnight. Yes, quite suddenly, without expecting it at all. For example, I have a very, very good acquaintance who has absolutely nothing to do with spirituality. She is so well wrapped up in her life, her business, and her family. And so there are partners, oneself, and also a small child. Well, and now life is throwing her out so abruptly because she has fallen madly in love with someone, and the one she has fallen in love with, she is fully aware she cannot rely on him at all. In this context, however, she feels that she is intensely questioning her partnership and senses how much she is missing. And even though she knows that what is happening to her right now is madness, she cannot escape this energy, as I simply call it, any form of logic, any form of reason. She simply can no longer engage with her previous partner. She is unable to resist the attraction to this new man she has fallen in love with and finds herself in an emotional turmoil, which makes her question her entire life concept and her future life development. And she really has to turn over every stone and feels like everything is falling apart under her feet, and she can't do anything about it. And so there are many, many different stories. Today we have included the topic of partnership. Write me in the comments where you are currently being tested. Yes, while the three-dimensional reality continues to dissolve, or it seems to us as if the old reality, the previous three-dimensional reality, is dissolving more and more. The five-dimensional reality is beginning to take more and more shape. Yes, it does have something to do with our consciousness, but we can calmly phrase it in such a way that something dissolves, something new takes shape or form. Yes, and this is naturally a very clear sign for you that you are moving to a higher level of consciousness and thus resonating with your soul plan and your soul family. Yes, and of course with your spiritual ascension, your spiritual abilities, your clairvoyance, your intuition, claircognizance, and much more will also awaken. I am very, very curious if you can already feel it, because it is happening in such a subtle way. This is starting again right now and is rolling into our field. Write to me and let me know if you can already perceive how you resonated with this podcast episode. If you like, let's also definitely connect on Instagram, please. And a little reminder, we will see each other in our upcoming live show. Bring your biggest problem with you. You can find the registration link here in the text for this podcast episode. I am really looking forward to seeing you, and until then, with love, the very best for you, your sister in spirit, your Linda.